Good morning, and here we are, episode 119. It's amazing. I was thinking about it in this week, that holy moly, how time has flown, and I never thought at the beginning of the year that I'm going to have one show. I mean, it is something that has always been in the back of my mind, but I never really did anything about it. So I'm very grateful for lockdown that came around and that sort of said, well, what else am I going to do? Well, let's do this show. And I look at how far we've come with this show. I look at the first episode and I look at where we are right now. There's progress. Things are getting smoother. Things are getting more organized. Things are just, flowing a bit more. It's really the entire process of setting it up and sort of thinking about what's going to be in the show and all of that has become easier in a lot of sense. So very happy to have all of you with me this morning. Thank you very much for joining me at 7 a.m. in the morning. And I think this is going to be an interesting episode. So I want to talk all about 2021 and some of the important things, and in my mind, some of the top things that you should be focusing on when doing your planning and getting ready for next year. I'm sure that most of you are already busy with that. Some people prefer to do it in January when they come back fresh and all of that. And boy, do we all need a holiday, right? So it's been a very interesting year and a very busy year, a very stressful year, not just for us, but for our clients. So I think that doubled up on the stress and the anxiety and all of the stuff that many of us have felt during the year. But hey, here we are. I'm going to talk about the lessons from 2020. I'm going to give you 5 aspects that we're going to talk about that you need to focus on for next year. And these are not the only 5 aspects. I think that's important to understand. Your business is still your business. You still need to do the things that generate income. I'm going to look more from starting to position yourself in such a way that it doesn't matter what happens, whether your plans work out or they don't, that you are positioned in the best possible way to make a success of however you need to adapt at that point. So that's really what it's about. So let me just quickly say good morning, Rihanna. Welcome. Good morning, Quibus. Plan for the first 6 months to pivot your practice virtually. Yeah, it seems like we're going to go on the same tangent here. So Wayne, good morning. Nice to see you. I hope I see you tomorrow at Bidon. Yeah, you better come and ride, bud. Casper, good morning. Nice to see you. Jacoritz, goeiemôre. Hope you're all well. Steven, good morning. Hope you're well. Neil, good morning. Ek hoop dit gaan goed daar in Kroonstad of daar rond. Ek dink jy is nou reg onthou, jy mos daar in die Vrystaat. Mark, good morning. Good morning. It must be 4 p.m. on Friday in Melbourne. Greetings all. Yes. So yeah, good morning, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Carol, good morning. And nice to see you as well. And Brian Jarvis, good morning. Nice to see you. I see there's Neil and Mark over on LinkedIn. I don't know if you noticed on LinkedIn that now we can also schedule live events to go live. So there will also be a notice, and there's a little button that when you see that notice, you can click on a set reminder to remind you, the same as you can do on YouTube. So a lot of the same functionality now coming through. So really awesome. Good morning, Ronnie. Nice om jou weer te sien. It was baie lang tyd. So welcome. Alrighty. So just very quickly, where are we in terms of our subscribers? And I just realized that I didn't update my stats, but I do know what they are, luckily, so let me do that. But this morning we are on 743 subscribers, so thank you very much, up from 737, and we're on 6 patrons still, so thank you very much for the 6 guys and ladies that are supporting the show in another way on the next level. Thank you very much. If you're also interested in doing that, you're more than welcome to do so. You can just visit patreon.com/VCF and you can commit a monthly amount there, and you're in full control. You can stop it at any time. You can increase it, decrease it, so you have full control. But that money that you contribute towards the show, we're going to use next year. So at the moment, I'm building up a kitty there. So we are going to use that to do some phenomenal and amazing things on the show, and also to make it better. Maybe a little thing that it's not funded by that. It's funded by myself, but I'm putting an aircon in here so that I don't sweat as much. Because you don't understand. It looks like I get out of a swimming pool by the time I'm done here. But yeah, so that's being done next week. And making the space better and better. I'm also starting to rethink how I'm going to rehash the studio for next year, and also sort of the format of the show for next year. and all of that. So yeah, but thank you very much. If you're one of the subscribers, thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. It's free. You get the notifications when we go live or when we publish videos, and that's really what it's about. So if you can subscribe, that'll help us a ton. So thank you very much. All right, so I'm not going to go on too long with all this stuff. The only other thing that I need to just share quickly is our patrons. So just to say thanks again to Kobus, Denise, Janice, Johan, Francis, and Mr. Anonymous there. So thank you very much for your support. I deeply appreciate it, and know that you're going to play a vital role in the direction of the show next year specifically. So thank you very much for that. I deeply appreciate it. Alrighty, so maybe just one last feedback. So last week Friday, I participated in the Write a Book in a Day challenge, which was a phenomenal experience. We set out to write 30,000 words in one day. So there were I think 30 authors that worked on the book. So there's 12 chapters and a foreword, etc. So different people. So there were between 2 and 3 authors on a chapter. This book is put together by Next Gen Planners in the UK, and it's meant to help new financial planners that come to the profession, and also obviously new members of Next Gen. That book covers everything in terms of a financial planning practice. And I was part of the chapter number 4, where we spoke about getting your message out there. I focus specifically on creating content, but there is everything and anything that you can think about. And at the end of the day, we wrote close to 42,000 words, so which was phenomenal. I myself wrote 3,600, I think 3,593 words, if I remember correctly. So that was amazing, and we did that in one day. And it was just amazing to be part of that. So just thanks to Adam Owen, the team over at Next Gen Planners. They also interviewed me as part of that process. So it was really an amazing experience from that point. Alrighty, so on that note, I think I'm ready to get going. So let me just quickly say, Cindy, good morning. Francis, goeiemorgen. Elmin, good morning. Goeiemorgen. Kuvendra, nice to see you as well. Russell, good morning, my friend. What a phenomenal, by the way, now that I see Russell's name here, what a phenomenal discussion we had at the FBI, the webinar we did on Tuesday. It's available on their YouTube channel. So go go search for Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa, or FBI, if you will, and then go look at that. It was the first session of 3 where we spoke about tech and innovation in financial planning, and we sort of made it applicable to the first 2 steps. But there was a phenomenal conversation that took place with the panel. So go check that out. It's available there. Adrian, good morning. Russell says, ready to kick butt. Yes, you always that. One more rep, buddy. One more rep. Hi, Kobus. Will you send a link where I can buy the book? I don't know if you're talking about the Next Gen Planners one, or if Kobus said anything there to you. But you can. It's now being edited. It's only going to come out next year. So we'll let you know when they are available. And Tapo, good morning. Alrighty, here we go. So let me talk about 2021, and I want to start off with the lessons that we learned, because this is important. So I just want to put this on the screen. So there we go. If I think about all the things that happened during 2021. And what are some of the lessons? And I've done this in episode 51. There was these lessons that I learned. I've written several articles that were published in different publications about the lessons that we learned. But that was more aimed at through starting the show. And I think by extension, 2020, what that taught me, right? And then last night I was sitting down. I was thinking okay, so where do we start? So let's start with the lessons. And what did I learn from 2020? Well, I'm not going to bore you because we need to get to the other stuff. But I think the main thing is that we never really know what the outcome is going to be. We never really know what the curveball is going to be that's going to hit us. We can go for 10, 15, 20 years and it's just the status quo. It's sort of the same. Yes, it's a little bit tough, and then it's nice, and then you have a crappy year, and then you have a fantastic year, and that was just sort of the cycles we went through, right? Business cycles, economic cycles, but they were fairly undisturbed. And along comes, the pandemic, and everything is like, holy moly, what just happened? Where did this train come from? Where's that bus going? We have no idea. And I think if there's one thing that we really need to learn from this is that we always need to ask the question, let's just put a worst case scenario and say, what if this happens? What if Earth gets hit by an asteroid? What if the internet goes down? What if, Eskom doesn't come back online? What if we got to ask all these questions and really prompt ourselves to think about, what if the worst thing ever happened? Not the worst things that we've defined as, whenever, what would be bad for us and our business, but when something that really impacts everybody, our clients as well, not just us. Then I think the second thing there is that you need a plan for the plan. And maybe that's not 100% the way I should say it, but what I mean with that is, and this is not about having a plan B, but it is having a plan for each one of the scenarios that you come up with for the worst case. You got to have your plan for the year, what you're going to do, what you're going to focus on, how you're not going to do it, what you want to, what are the objectives that you want to reach. So that stuff is important. But then you also need a plan for what if something then really goes wrong for any one or all of the scenarios that you've come up with. I think that is important. And that's where we got caught with our pants down, is that, we didn't have those plans because I don't think it was even within our thinking, or it wasn't even on the radar. There was no warning, actually. Or maybe if there was warning, we didn't notice it. So that's very important that we do that. Now, that doesn't mean that you must spend the whole of January or the rest of your December and your holiday creating 50 million plans to be able to cater for every single eventuality. I think, have your main plan. That's the one thing. And then come up with what if something really goes bad? What if we have another pandemic? What would I have done differently right now? Because so few people were in a position to immediately know what to do, one, and to immediately change the way that they work and to adopt things that they've never worked with before. Or maybe, people have used things before, but they never knew, it doesn't really make a difference in my business. So, for example, having the option to have a Zoom meeting, now it's the thing. You never thought about that. But some people were able to say, well, I'm just going to meet clients via Zoom. And other people say, what was Zoom? I mean, we had over 300 people do our Zoom training that we did right when all of this started, which is phenomenal. But it's those kind of things. And then if there's one trait that we need, if there's one thing that's becoming clear, and I don't think it's just because of the pandemic, but I also think it is because of just where the world is going and how connected we are becoming and how quickly things are flowing, how continuously and often things are now changing. The pace at which it's changing is that we need agility and then pivotability. And I know, pivoting has become the word. And, but if you're agile, it means that you can, like Donnie Gerber, that guy was very agile. I hope all of you know who that is. But yeah, so you need that. But then you got to be able to say holy moly, I need to do a 180. I need to turn around and go the other way now, or I need to make a 90-degree turn to the left, or I need to take a detour. You got to be able to make that decision and make that change, because thinking about it doesn't change anything. Planning it doesn't change anything. It's only when we do it that it really changes anything. Then things can change in a moment. With a flick of a switch, things can change. I mean, that's exactly what happened to us. So this is now clear more than ever before. And then if there's one thing that I took away from this, and again with a show, I think will forever be the symbol of that for me, is that action trumps fear. All right? Not Donald Trump, not that Trump. So it's taking action even when you don't know what you're doing. It is taking action when you're unsure. It is taking action when you maybe don't feel like it, when it's just even if you have it clear, just take action. Move, because if you're going to stand still, you're going to get stuck where you are. You maybe get run over by something. So take action. Action is the only thing, well, that and love, apparently, that sorts out fear and that you can use to conquer fear. So depending on the type of fear, but I think in a business environment, yes, love, because you need to care about your client, you need to understand things from their perspective, all of that, but then take action and do the things that you plan to do the things that you said you were going to do, because those are so important. And then there's a lot of times you will hear people say, expect nothing from no one and expect nothing. But we can't go like that through life. You've got to expect anything to happen. You've got to expect that your plans are not going to work out. It doesn't mean that you don't take the actions necessary to make it work, but when it doesn't work out or there is something that came along that you didn't think about or plan for, you will be ready for that. And then you just, that's fine. Now we use agility and pivotability, and we adapt, and we pull that backup plan from the shelf, and there we go. So expect anything. And those are sort of the lessons I feel that I learned from this year. So I don't know, are there any specific lessons that you learned? I see I made a spelling mistake. Lessons learned should just be 2020 there at the bottom. I'm sorry for that. I get so into talking that I don't read the screen. But yeah, so any lessons that you've learned, please share them in the comments or in the chat, so that, I also want to know, like, what have you gone through, and what are the things that you've learned, and how are you coming out better on the other end of 2020? It doesn't matter, whether you are near bankruptcy or whether you have had the best year ever or anything in between. You're coming away from this with something, and I would love to know what that is, if you're willing to share that. All right, so I just want to see quickly. Let me just sort of see the comments quickly. There we go. Yes, Nick, yes. So definitely I will let everybody know when that book is available. So definitely, it's definitely going to be a good one. Ready to go. Yeah, I love it. Kavendra, good morning, Razan. Mark the need for a regular strategic SWOT analysis. And I want to sort of, because that's one of the things that, like, the first things that I was taught when it came to business is the SWOT analysis, right? And I think, I don't know, you can tell me whether you experience this, maybe yourself, or whether you see this with your business clients or anything like that, where we don't use the tools that have been there for ages because we feel it's old, because we feel it's a traditional way of doing things, it is a schrep, I don't really understand it, and we don't use these models and these frameworks and these tools to help us make decisions and to help us plan for where we are going. So I fully agree with Mark. That's one of the basic things, is like, you got to regularly do this. And this is also the problem when it comes to business planning. How many conversations I either was in meetings, like, where people were saying this, or I listened to something where people saying this, or I had a conversation directly with somebody where they said this in the last 2 weeks, that, I do the business plan, and then the last time I look at it is next year when I need to do one again. And then we miss the point of this business plan. It's got to be in a format that is easy for you to refer back to. It's something that you can see regularly. It must be part of your planning to review the plan on a weekly, monthly basis, because that's the only way you can track whether you are moving. Or at least you need to break your action steps down from that, so that that's what you're tracking. And then you can come back to the plan to see, well, are we doing the things that we said we were going to do, and how are we tracking? So all of that is quite important. And when it's just you and your business, if you have a small business, maybe you, assistant, or 2 or 3, it's hard to get to all of those things, but it's doable. It's doable. Go listen again to the webinar we had with the FBI on Tuesday about tech and innovation. We talked a lot about working on your business with all 3 panelists, and the time that they are spending. So very important that you also go and do exactly the same. The tough thing with this virus was we have seen small outbreaks in China or the East before, and they fizzled out. The stealthiness of this virus took everyone by surprise. Yes, that's why I say, yeah, there were signs, but we didn't think anything of it, It's like when you go fishing and the little policeman that sort of shows you that there's a bite, if it doesn't move in a certain way, you ignore it. But maybe it's a bite, and you go and make coffee or something, and then you lose out on that. Or in this case, maybe there's a boat that came past and took your fishing rods with them. Clients appreciated the regular phone call just to see how they were doing. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, I think, a little bit later, but absolutely. Having some form of structure or routine prevents complacency, especially with working virtually. We can get so easily distracted in a day and be less productive despite having more time. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm one of those people that are very good with filling my time with weird and wonderful things. So absolutely. All right, so let's get into the first thing that you need to be working on. And this is critically important, because the way things have changed is that, and I think this is permanent, nothing is going, if you still think that things are going back to the way it was, I would strongly advise you to sort of reconsider that position. It may be a blend of what we had before and what we have now, but it's not going back. It is not going back. Why? because clients have realized what it is that they want. So the first thing that you need to plan and have a strategy for is, how are you going to create awareness for the fact that you exist and for what it is that you do? And how do you position yourself as the expert person that people want to talk to? Because it's very clear, I think, specifically in times like these, people are looking to professionals to help them and to make decisions and to sort of see, what is it that they should do? Because remember, you don't know, they also don't know. They know even less, probably. So very important that we do this. So from this point of view, this is all driven through content in various different ways. So whether you go all out, everything to the wall, like you have a live show or you have a show, or you do videos or you do a podcast, whether it's that, whether you have a blog where you write articles, or whether you make sure that you get into the media, you contribute to the media, you write articles, or you try and get onto radio shows, or maybe you do something in your local area, or you have content that you are communicating to your clients via email and WhatsApp and those kind of things. That's going to be important. So your social media presence, and this doesn't mean that now you have to become this expert. So if you don't like it, outsource it, all right? Then you've got to understand that it's going to cost you money in order to do that. If you like it and you're comfortable with doing it yourself, then do that. I'm sort of that person, but also there are aspects that I'm sourcing out, and there's some aspects that I'm going to source out in the future. But that is important. So you've got to understand what works for you and what is important. But the one thing is that you cannot not be found on social media or on the internet or digitally. Okay, so there's a few sort of things that you can do to do this. So obviously your website, your social media presence, but that's one thing. So it's about engaging online, interacting with clients and doing that. But it's really about creating great content. And the reason why this is so important is that, and we had this discussion the other day as well, when somebody refers you to anybody, what is the first thing you do? If you come to me and you say, listen, I'm looking for a place that can fix my lawnmower, and I tell you, listen, you got to go to this place. Like, that's the only place. So that's already a feather in their cap, and it's great. But the very next thing you do is you go and see if other people are having the same experience and saying the same things that I'm saying. And how do you do that? Well, you go onto their Facebook page, you go Google them, those kind of things. You ask your friends, maybe if anybody else knows. So those are the kind of things that we do because we want that social proof that this is in fact really the experience, because we can't afford to make mistakes and to choose the wrong people to work with. Now you get referred and they go look for you. They can't find you. They find other financial advisors and they see like, whoa, people are really raving about these people, and they decide, listen, okay, thanks for the referral, but I'm rather going to go that way. So this is extremely important to build that trust and to create that in that sense. What is very key when you want to do it this way, and you're going to use content in order to create awareness for the fact that you exist and what it is that you do, and that you're the best person to do it for someone, it's not for everybody. It's got to be aimed at a very specific person or a very specific type of client or ideal client. So that you need to know, and when you put out content, it must be for those people. And what you want to do is sort of find problems for those people, because the more you work with them, the more you are able to identify things and issues and problems that the client isn't even aware of. And by sharing those stories and sharing the answers and the solutions to those problems, that shows that you know what you're doing. That is what positions you as an expert. Yes, there's a whole lot of other things you can do. Yeah, if you can ultimately get onto TV, or you can be on the radio, or have a full featured article in a well-known publication, or write a book, or there's a whole host of things that you can do, right? But just at the base, and something that everybody can do, is do that. Talk to your ideal client, find problems, share what the answer is. So doing case studies and articles and maybe short videos or anything like that, And even if you decide, listen, I don't want to put this stuff out on social media, but you want to share it with your client base only, that's a first step. If you want to get comfortable, do that, But if you want to attract more of your ideal client and want to make sure that they can find you when it makes sense, do that. And I think from that sort of point of view, if you think about what is out there that can help you, sort of do this, as I said, social media, all of that. Then something like Profile Me, I think is is a powerful tool in your arsenal that you can have, because you want to make it easy then for people to refer you. And you can have all of this content on Profile Me, so that if I share your Profile Me card with the person that I'm referring to you, everything's there. They don't need to go onto social media. They don't need to go onto your website or anything. It's right there in front of them on their phone, or even on their laptop or their desktop if they want to. But it is right there. So make it easy. And I'm going to come to the client experience and stuff in a second, but that's important. Think about something like AdWiser, adwiser.co.za. So it's a new startup, and what they're doing is they're allowing clients to review and rate financial advisors. So whether you want to be on there or not, clients can find you on there, and they can leave a review. So how do you incorporate all of these things together in order to help build and position yourself as this expert and create awareness for the fact that you exist? Alrighty, so that is that one. Also, you can go look at episode 15. That is where I spoke about creating impactful content. And then also episode 45. And there's also a couple of others that you can look at, setting yourself apart, etc. But episode 45 is about distinguishing yourself from the rest. So go have a look at that one. Let me quickly see I just want to quickly see the comments. Mark says another lesson was the need to optimize my home office with latest equipment and software. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what is one of the biggest challenges for me, Mark, is making it comfortable for myself at home. And I've been working from home for years, but to make it comfortable and to make it easy and to make it, it must be enjoyable. Because otherwise you want to go and work at a coffee shop all the time, which you also can't do. So that's, it's so important. You've got to create a proper work environment at your home. And a lot of people have struggled with that because they only had a dining room table. There wasn't enough space to do the other things. So, it's hard for some people doing that. But this is that's such an important point. Khomotso, good morning. Hope you're well. A wise advisor I know with 40 years of experience says the best marketing is to focus on doing the best job you can for all your current clients. Word of mouth is the most powerful marketing tool. It is absolutely the most powerful marketing tool, but people still go these days and they go look for proof. So they don't just take the words of one friend. They go and look at what other people are saying and sort of, can you demonstrate? Because the last thing they want is to get there and see they don't get along with your personality, for example. So I think from that point, that's why you got to support this as much as possible. So it's not just about that referral. It's about what supports that referral as well going forward. I think that's going to become more and more powerful. Mark, so remove some distractions there. I think it is important. All right, so then it's now point number 3 in this episode, but it is the second thing that you need to be focusing on and creating a strategy for. And I've also spoken about this before, but client experience. So this is becoming, and I think this maybe links on to Nick's point about just do the best job that you can do, and that sort of is the first step. But you need to have a proper client experience. You need to have a strategy. You need to understand exactly what does the entire client journey look like from the time somebody starts researching you and looking for you up until the time that they pass away or leave your practice, whatever that event may be. But that is important. Do you understand what that looks like? Do you understand all the touch points? Do you understand where you can really add value? And this is not about giving good service. This is not about just creating a friendly environment and just be courteous and just be caring. It's all of that, but that is not the main thing. I think this is probably the most important aspect that we need to plan for in 2021, and I've spoken about this a couple of times on the older episodes, so you can go have a look at that. But client experience is really going to be one of the differentiators, and one of the ways you can differentiate yourself is through expertise and through focusing, but then also underpin that through a very good client experience, because you will never hear people say, yes, you're so clever, you're so sharp, it's like, you know what, this person cares about me, this person understands me. My financial planner is just, I've never experienced anything like that. It's about the way that we make people feel. But what that means is that we've got to focus on the human connection, the human element of what it is that we're doing. And this is making a lot of advisors very uncomfortable, because we were very focused on product and technical and those kind of things. Now, and you've seen this. I mean, we've had people on the show, we spoke about coaching, and several of them. We had, all sorts of sort of guests on the show where we spoke about exactly this. It's like, where are things headed? What are we doing? How do we focus on the human? And then the big challenge with that is like, how do I get paid for that? Right? But I mean, that's a separate discussion. So this is about really adding value, really connecting with your client and understanding all the different sort of opportunities for you to add value and to make a difference in their lives, but be really entrenched in that person as a person and not just as a client and not just as an opportunity or the kind of product that they need at a specific point in their journey. So, I guess the question is, what does that journey look like? But then very importantly, there's these two aspects to this now, which we didn't have before. Previously you could have done something like, visualize how it looked when a client walks up to your office, and when they get there, what is it like, what type of coffee do they get, how are they greeted, what does it look like where they sit, when they go to the bathrooms, like that entire experience around, that. Because, I mean, think about it, when you go to a restaurant, you don't, the food was nice, but that's a very short part of the conversation. You usually tell, like, when we got there, it was ambiance, and it was like, oh, it was this amazing, they had live music, they had all the things that made it incredible for you and that made it sort of worth it for you to go and share that story with others. But now it's this thing about planning for a client experience in a virtual world and in an in-person world. So sort of that mix between the two, that blend between the two of how do I create this when I work with somebody virtually? What does it look like when I work with them in person? What does it look like? And, obviously there are a lot of clients that you're going to do both with. So you're going to work with them both virtually and in person. So what does that journey look like? And how do I make sure that they walk away, say, that is amazing. I can't believe nobody's doing it like that. Or I can't believe that it's taken this long to get here. It's just absolutely amazing. So, and getting comfortable with having these human conversations virtually is, it's something to get used to. It's not that hard to do. It's just going out, learning what to do and about asking great questions. And I think the other thing, if I can maybe throw that in there, is that it's not about having the answers always in a meeting. If you're able to ask great questions, you can say, that's phenomenal, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to analyze this, or I'm just going to process this, I'm going to come back to you. And then you can go and talk to whoever you need to talk to in order to help you to navigate whatever it is that you need to navigate. So don't feel like you always have to have the answer, and be very comfortable in saying, listen, I don't know, I'm going to find out, I'll get back to you. So don't be afraid to do things like that, because that adds to the trust and that. So go have a look at episode 23. Episode 23 is where I spoke about the client experience. That was still a little bit more focused on the in-person sort of side. So I think that was very valuable. And then also you can go on Circulus online and see there's delivering a great virtual customer experience. So that is on Circulus online, the online learning platform. So it's an hour, so you can go there to have that. So that's sort of that sort of additional content that you can go and watch for that part. Alrighty, so Russell says, make sure your human value. Oh, and I'm sharing these. I mean, I know the guys on YouTube can see it, but people over on LinkedIn can't see this. And also maybe if somebody's watching the recording. So make sure your human value is what attracts and adds value to clients. Don't let your value add be the things that a client can do themselves or through a robo-advice tool. Yes. So your value is not in picking a product. Your value is not in picking funds even, I would say. It's not about, giving service, because those things can all be done by call centers and those kind of things. So what are the things that really makes a difference that clients want? So a very important point from Russell. think to yourself, if I was a client, why would I go to me for advice and not the other 1,000, make that 150,000 reps in South Africa? So definitely good questions. All right. Righty. So maybe just a very quick one. Yes, please interact and share. Okay, don't be shy. Please do that. If you want to connect, you can connect with me on the portal. So you can scan the QR code at the top of the screen as well. That is my profile, me powered portal. So I see Nick asked. So Nick, scan that code with your phone, or go to francois.co.za/portal, and you can see what it is about. So that maybe that's something you can use. Alrighty. So next up is one of my favorites. It's obviously we need to look at our technology strategies. Very important that we do that, and that we don't just think that what we have is what we have. So, I think the place that you need to start, and it doesn't matter what technology you're using at the moment. It doesn't matter to me how long you've been using it. The question is, have you really gone and sit down and think about your business in its entirety and wrote down what it is that you need from a technology point of view? Or maybe what are all the things that needs to get done, and where can technology really help you from that point of view? And if you don't know, then get somebody that can consult with you and help you with that. But what are your business requirements? Because too often I still see people going with a system based on price, and then they try and mold and fit and almost just, I don't know what the right English word is, but just sort of deform their entire business, that you can't even recognize the thing that they wanted to do, because they are trying to work within that system. And it needs to be the other way around. You need to be very clear on the way you want to do business, what it is that you want to do, how do you want to deliver your value. So there's one thing about the value that you're going to create, which is your value proposition and your client experience and all of that. But then how do you deliver it? You need technology that's going to support that. And you can't have technology that can't do that, and now you try and change your business so that the technology does work. I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. So you got to think about that. It's so much more than just your F&A or your planning tool and your CRM. That's a very small part, actually. I mean, there are many other things. What about your payroll? What about your accounting or your invoicing and things like that? Because that's happening more and more and more. What else is there? I mean, it's your communication tools. There's so many things that you really need to think about in terms of technology. Even your internet provider, your infrastructure. So all of those things, like what do you need, and what is really going to make it easy for you and be cost effective at the same time. But technology, when it's the right technology for and it supports what it is that you want to do, it is never an expense. It's never a cost. It's always an investment, because it generates money. The moment whatever it is that you put in place is generating income for you, it's an investment. That's how investments work, right? So it's important to do that. And if there's one thing that I think you should focus on in terms of technology, well, let's make it two things. So the first one is you figure out, what are the requirements of your business, and see where you have gaps, and see whether the current technology fits whatever it is that you're trying to do. And then secondly, focus on automating and templating your business, okay? And there I'm talking about, like, those are the things that software can take over and do all these repetitive, boring tasks over and over and over again. So for example, I'm going to give you a very simple example. If you're giving feedback to clients on a monthly basis on their entire investment portfolio, many people do that manually, okay? Or they take the statement from Alan Gray and Stanlip and Momentum, and they just send all three statements to the client. Okay, that takes a lot of manual effort. Whether you believe that or not, it takes a lot of manual effort. Whether you can have something like, I don't know, like Seed Analytics that can do a consolidated reporting. If you're using Xplan, you can have IPS. So At Work has got At Wealth, and Elite Wealth has got their data feeds and things. But again, if you look at the product suppliers that you work with, does the service platform or the technology platform you're using currently, do they offer those data feeds, and do they offer reporting in a way that makes sense to the client? Because that is really where it's at. But those things can all be automated. Yes, it's going to cost you a few extra rand a month, but the time you save, the mistakes you don't make. So those things are just so valuable. But that's just one way of automating. I mean, I'm not even talking about communications, or just having templates that you can insert into a document at the click of a button instead of going copy paste and doing all that good stuff. But templating your business, so having the things that you write over and over and over again, have it there. Automation, and again, if you go look on Circulus online, so I've got a webinar there about employing technology in your financial planning business, or just in your business, I think in general. I go through all these things, where to start, what to look for that you can automate, and all of that. So go have a look at that, and you can really use that to your advantage, because I mean, it's clear that technology is not going anywhere. It's a critically important part of our business. So you've got to be able to do that. Alrighty. So the second last aspect that we need to plan for, and I don't know, maybe some of, well, not the second last one, the third last one. And this is, sort of again, because I think things have shifted. Before I bring that on, let me just quickly have a look. Mark says, watching live streams like yours helps identify new ways of delivering value. Thank you very much, Mark. I deeply appreciate it. Carol, appreciate all your content. I go back too many and play them on high speed to get a refresh. That's a very nice hack, eh? Because, I mean, on YouTube, you can go and watch. So obviously the live stream, you can't do that. I mean, that would have been lovely if we can do this live in a very short space of time. But if you watch the recordings, you can put it on, if you go to the settings, and you can do it on mobile or on your desktop, you can actually set the speed to 1.25, 1.5, and even up to, I think you can go more than 2 times if I'm not mistaken. But depending on the speed at which you're comfortable listening to what they're saying and hearing what I'm still saying and still being able to process and follow, so maybe it's 1.25, maybe it's 1.5. So that means that, if you play it at 50% faster, I mean, you should technically do an hour show in half an hour. You can do the same with podcasts. So that's a very nice hack. Thanks for that, Carol. It works well. I do that as well, particularly if I do summits. I do that. All right, Tech doesn't ask why. It can put a spotlight on it, but you still need a human-centric approach to deliver true value. Spot on. Nothing worse than a report you don't. Yeah, oh, and we are so good with that. It's my bear bug. Is that the word? But bugbear, I don't know. But anyway, it's the one thing that I'm definitely going to try and change in this industry is the way the output and all of that all the system providers are actually doing. So very important. Alrighty, so next up is your value proposition. So we've got to think about your value proposition, and because things have shifted, what clients are looking for have changed. So whether you've had this value proposition for a long time and you're very comfortable and happy with it, or whether you created it last year or this year as part of the process, you've got to go back and revisit and review that, because things are moving, and now there's a resurgence. I don't know what's going to happen if they were to close down, but luckily it seems like they will close down the regions and not the entire country, if that should ever happen. But it has a significant impact. I mean, I'm looking at what's happening in the UK, etc. So it's not nice. But you got to think about your value proposition on an ongoing basis. It's not a once-off event. It's not something you do once. And I think it's important to ask this question, like, how have my clients' lives changed? And maybe if you don't know the answer, go and ask them, what is different for you? Choose 20 clients and have conversations with them about how has their life changed, and is it temporary, is it permanent? What is now top of mind for them? What are they worried about? And this doesn't matter even whether you're an accountant, whether you're into tax, or whether you're a lawyer, or whether you are a financial planner. It doesn't matter. Like, if we work with clients, any kind of business, even if it's manufacturing or anything like that, it's like, how have your clients' lives changed, or how have their businesses changed? So very important to go and ask that question, and also be very careful of assuming. Don't make assumptions around that. Rather go and ask. Right, so how have their lives changed, and then what are they looking to accomplish now? Because that have obviously changed as well. If their lives have changed, they now want to try and do something else. So, how do you adapt? How do you change what it is you're doing? Maybe it's how you're doing it. It can be what you're doing, but you got to go and find out what are they trying, because as soon as there's a misalignment between what you're delivering and what clients need and want and the pains they're trying to relieve, and you don't meet those, they're going to, at some stage, either become disengaged and maybe don't want to leave because they're loyal to you, but it's not going to be that much of a of a fruitful and a sort of engagement and relationship that it could be. So very important to make sure that you don't get misaligned with them and that you adapt as you need to. So you can go have a look at episode 43. So episode 43 is where I spoke about creating your value proposition, using the value proposition canvas as well. So go have a look at that one if you've missed it, previously, or maybe you just want to revisit it. That will be the episode to go and have a look at. Then let me just see. Yeah, so then the next one, and this is also something that I think a lot of people have found themselves in a position. Let me just answer the comments very quickly. Agree 100%. Nick says Kobus. And then great question. How has your life changed? Thanks, Francois. Probably the best nugget from this talk. Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Alrighty, so if we go and have a look at the next one, and this is, I think, where a lot of advisors found themselves like, oh, holy moly, now what? Okay, so this is your communication strategy. And for me, let me ask the question. So why do you need a communication strategy, and why is it so important according to Francois? Well, it's all about staying top of mind. I mean, this show is a way for me to communicate with those that want to listen. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than communicating with people who want to listen, that out of their own free will come here and they sort of switch it on and they watch and they listen. Whether they watch the entire thing or a little bit, doesn't matter. They engage with the content. So I'm communicating. And because they see that this thing is available all the time, I stay top of mind even when they don't watch this. So I'm communicating, one, that there is a new episode, or there are previous episodes, or that there's a portal that you can go and visit and all of that. So that is definitely one thing. But then the other thing is that, there are many other ways of doing that. But it is all about staying top of mind, showing people that you are around, showing people that you are in it with them, if you will, that you are, that sort of what it is that you do for them. But all of that kind of stuff must be embedded in your community, because you can create all the content in the world. You can put it on your website, you can put it on social media, but if you don't have a proper communication strategy to get it out there to people, it's going to be very hard. And I think communication is also a two-way thing. So it's not just about how do I make it easy, or how do I communicate with people. It's like, how do I make it easy for them to communicate with me, which is exactly why I have the portal, because through the portal, you can phone me, you can email me, you can WhatsApp me, you can reach me in many different ways. All right. Versus, I think when people hear communication strategy, the first thing they think about is their email list, right? So do I have a list or a platform or technology or a tool that I can use in order to send bulk emails to my clients? I think that is sort of the very first thing that comes to mind. And this is so much more than just that. You got to be clear on what will be of value. When you put together this communication strategy, what will be of value to the client? Yes, you also got to think about, the value that comes back to you in the business, which is very important. But first and foremost, focus on the client and what will be of value to them. So in my mind, newsletters, I can see also on my side, newsletters, specifically general newsletters that you send out the same thing to everybody. It's got some value. They do see the email. Most of them won't open it. Unless it's something that seems that it applies to them, or something that seems to be interesting to them, or maybe it's they are curious about what it is that's in the email, But also it means like we need to become more and more sort of creative with the subject lines and things to entice people, because people will look at who it comes from, and then secondly what the subject is, specifically if they're very busy. So we've got to be very clear on sort of, that. So I feel like a newsletter is important, but it shouldn't be a weekly newsletter, because I think there's no value in that. I tried that. Doesn't make a difference. So a monthly or as and when newsletter, or a quarterly newsletter, or a bi-monthly newsletter, or something like that will probably more value, because it's less frequent, but it then summarizes things that people need to know, and they will probably be open to open that more. And when you're creating content, I'm still like, my number one thing is make sure that your content is unique. It has your voice. It comes from you. So I'm not gonna expand on that a lot. But But I think it's important that it's your content. You're the one that should be creating it, or you at least the one that should have input into what should be in the content. Even if you outsource it and let somebody else write it, it must still be based on your brief, and not be something that everybody is sending out to all of the clients in South Africa. So that's sort of that point. If you think about communication, so I want to go back to the consolidated investment report. If I send that out, I guarantee you that the majority, by the far majority of clients are going to open that email. And here you have the opportunity, one, to communicate with them the investment values, so that will make them open it. Two, you can put anything else you want into that email, which means they will probably read that, but keep it short and to the point. So choose one thing that you want to communicate together with this. Often people want to explain what happened in the markets, but it's also a fantastic opportunity to make them aware of anything, or tell a client story, or do things like that in that email. But so many more people will open that email because it's specific to them. It's specific about their money and what has happened and where they're headed and whether they're on track or not. That's a very important email. They will open it. So use those kind of things to make sure that you get more bang for your buck when communicating. And those are often the value adds that people don't see when they pay for tools like IPS and Seed and those kind of things. And then also, if you want people to open it, you've got to personalize it to them. So it shouldn't be this bulk email that's got your name on it, but the rest of the content is the same. You need to be sending things that are tailored to a specific audience. And the way that you can do that to sort of minimize the work is also to segment your email lists, etc., so that you understand what people are interested in, etc., etc. Because if you know that I'm a miniature figure painter, which I am, and you know that I love things like Warhammer, and maybe that, and maybe for some reason you love working with nerds, and there's a few of us. You can subscribe to certain things and say, guys, did you see this email? So you can send it personalized. Francois, did you see this email about the new Warhammer 40K models that came out on the Indomitus box set, or whatever it may be? And I'm going to open that email, and that's going to be valuable to me, because that shows me that you know me, that you care about me, and that. But for so many people, it's just like, oh no, that's just too much. I don't want to do that. So it's your choice. You don't have to do it, but those are the kind of things that really will get you bang for your buck in your communication strategy. Really think about how often you communicate. That's very important. And then the other big thing that we don't think about, we just think we email or we WhatsApp, or but find out how do your clients want to be communicated to? What is the way that they prefer? So many of them say, I don't care. You can do all of them, or you can do WhatsApp, whatever works for you. Others will say, no, please just send me a WhatsApp. I don't want to be on your email, or just want to be on your email. I don't want to be on WhatsApp, etc., etc. So you've got to know how they want to be communicated, because it's all about that customization and meeting them in the way they want to be met. So very important. So I've got several episodes that focus on this. So I'm not going to give you specific ones, but there are a lot of the episodes that really speaks to communication. So you're also welcome to go and have a look at that. All right, and then the last one, which obviously is very important for me personally, it's my highest value, and that is a learning or CPD strategy. Because you can't come up with new ideas. You can't adapt your value proposition. You can't focus on new things. You can't find problems that clients don't know they have if you don't develop your own skill set. You don't develop sort of the way that you think, and you challenge the way you think, and you go look for new ways of doing things. And you don't always have to go offshore to go and do that. Go look for interesting books from America and the UK and Australia and so forth. There's a lot of content that you can find here that will help you do that. But you can also definitely go offshore, because there are people that are thinking and doing things in a different way. So that's very important. You've got to know exactly what it is. So if you want to create a new value offering, or you want to enhance your existing value offering, you got to become aware of things and know things that you didn't know and were aware of before. You need that in order to do that. Because maybe, yes, you can do a survey with your clients and you can find out, whoa, here's a gap. But maybe you don't know how to sort it out. You just know that there's a gap. So you've got to go learn and sort of get yourself better. And you can start with things like shows like mine, or podcasts, and reading blogs, and just searching the internet. You don't have to do a formal qualification or a formal training thing. But you've got to start reading about it. You've got to start sort of feeding your mind about those kind of things, like how can I do it better? What is driving people? All those things are extremely important. It's also about refreshing your existing knowledge. So don't just focus on the new stuff, because the things we don't use that often gets rusty very, very quickly. So you also got to be refreshing. So the technical aspect is never going to go away. The product is always going to be part of the conversation somehow, although it's not always going to be applicable. But you do deal with product in some sense. So you've got to make sure that you stay up to date with product, technical, and then the sort of how do we engage, and how do we talk to people, and how do we connect with people. So very important. And then the other big thing that people don't take the time to learn is their technology. You've got to go and learn your technology. Learn to use it. What can it do? Do that. Spend the time getting comfortable with whatever tools, technology, whatever it is that you're using. And also, you can focus on this from a point of view where you, as the owner or the planner in the practice, you don't need to know everything, all right? But know the systems that you work with, so that it's not frustrating. Because the moment it becomes frustrating, you're not going to use it, or you're going to miss out on an opportunity because you're not using it to its full extent. But then also focus on the learning and development of your team. So whether you have one assistant or whether you have 100 of them, all of them needs to be trained, and they need to go through a learning process every single month in order to make sure that they know also the products, the processes, how to engage with clients, all of that stuff, and also, how to use the technology to the ultimate that they can do. So extremely important that we do that. Right, so those were 6, not 5. I said I'm going to give you 5 aspects, so I gave you 6. So how's that for a bonus one? So very, very awesome. Let me just see quickly. So Razan, latest global conversations. We are social, focus on short form content that gives a summary of the long form, as Kobus and you, Francois, done with WhatsApp broadcasting. Yeah, it's sort of that prelude and that enticing, and then say, come and check this out, and then they can consume the larger piece of content if they are interested, or pieces of it at least. So that's very important. Alrighty. So what I didn't realize, by the way, was that we're going to end this year on 120 episodes, because next week, on the 18th of December, is going to be the last episode for this year. And then I'm going to take a break, and I think I'm back the 15th of January or somewhere there, that second, third Friday in January. But I will obviously communicate with you. But you will have a communication standstill from me from the 18th. So maybe I will send you, obviously, maybe one more thing. There's a few things I want to do, but there's maybe one more thing I will communicate after that. But just thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this journey. 120 episodes, it still blows my mind. So we'll see what we can do next year. It's obviously going a lot slower now that we're only live once a week. But I also think it's just easier for people to sort of stay with us if we do that. So thank you very much. Please tell everybody about the show. Please subscribe. And, if you've got any ideas or insights, go to the portal, connect with me, chat to me, and I'll be glad to sort of have a chat. So Mark says, use YouTube to learn new strategies for engagement and marketing across all networks. Yes, and join networks like XY Advisor and Next Gen Planners. So Next Gen is in the UK, XY is in Oz. But they've got international communities, so we learn so much from each other there. They all have free elements where you get a lot of engagement and a lot of value, and it's better than being on Facebook. So and go learn from what they're doing in the other ones. So thank you very much, and let me just quickly see the last one here. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. I will see you next week. Bye bye.